Welcome to our birth story! I found out I was pregnant on May 7th, 2022. Even though I wasn't expecting it and it was a complete shock, we were having a baby and I decided to do a home birth. My due date was January 9th, 2023. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going on. I was still going on a hike 2 days before my due date, but on January 8th at 2 a.m. I started feeling contractions. They were super mild and I fell asleep, and then I woke up at 8 a.m. and the contractions were even more intense. Told myself, all right, I'm in labor. This is happening. The baby's coming really soon. Whenever I had a contraction, I stopped, I breathed, I took time, I listened to music, I just embraced it. And once the contraction was over, I went about doing whatever I had to do. At this point, naturally, I thought I would be anxious, but I was so excited that my baby is coming. Fast forward to 6 p.m. This might be the last time y'all see this bump. So, this whole time I was having contractions and they were getting stronger and stronger. My mucus plug came out. About an hour later, my water broke. This baby is coming. So at that point, I was just continuing laboring on. My friend came over, previously had a home birth as well. She was here to support me and kind of guide me because she had an idea of what to do, what to expect, what happens. My husband was here, my dog was with me. In this very room, I was just going through labor, going through the contractions. I had my tub here filled up with water, and let me tell you, that water just numbed the sensation of the contractions. Mother's Nature's epidural, and it felt so good. I loved being in the tub and it really helped me. It got to the point where I was in the zone. So I either had one song playing or I had David Goggins in my ear.
They don't know me, son. Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs?
That was the mentality that I was in and I needed to be in for what was coming. I have my midwife notes here, so I'm also going to read off of that. My midwife arrived around like 9 o'clock. She was just monitoring me. She was making sure my heartbeat was good. She was making sure the heart rate of the baby was good and just seeing how I was doing. Typically, labor takes a long time. In a home birth, when midwife comes, and sometimes the baby's just not ready, so the midwife leaves, goes home, and the woman continues laboring on. I thought that was gonna happen, but she decided to stay, and I didn't know this at that time, but there was an issue with the heart rate for the baby. It wasn't unsafe to continue laboring on because the baby was still fine. I made sure that I was hydrated and I ate. I was drinking a lot of coconut water, I was drinking a lot of water, and I was also eating snacks, carbohydrates to keep my energy up and to keep going. Then later on, around like 11 p.m., I was about 5 centimeters dilated. And I was like, great success. Feeling good, I'm hydrated, I don't feel like I'm ready to just get this baby out. I'm ready to continue on pushing forward. And with each contraction, the baby was having some decelerations, which pretty much means that the baby's heart rate was dropping a little bit. So the normal was between 120 to 130 for the baby's heart rate, and she was dropping to 115-ish around this time. Again, the midwife already knew this, and she was continuing making sure that we were both okay. So this is the part of labor where things start to get fuzzy. This is where the part where my memory was like, oh hell no, we ain't remembering none of this. This is when the contractions started to become more and more intense, and I was taking it like a champ. We went from this room to the tub to the bathroom to our bedroom. We changed positions. The midwife continually monitored me. There were some contractions where the heart rate decelerated, and there were some contractions where the heart rate did not decelerate. So she asked me if I wanted to speed up the process of labor. And the way to do that is pretty much by dilating my cervix. I was told that it is the most painful thing. She pretty much has to take the cervix and go like this and stretch it out with her finger. It hurt, but like it didn't. And she did this several times with my permission. I don't know. I really don't know where that extra gear in my body came from to deal and bear all this pain. Now it is 4:30 in the morning. I've been laboring this whole time, and in my head, I feel like I'm fully dilated and I'm ready to push and get this baby out of me. At 4:30 a.m., I was only 6 centimeters dilated. I'm gonna read you guys the note from my midwife. He wrote, contractions have been every 2 minutes for the past 20 minutes. Elena says, I am exhausted. I don't remember saying that. Discussed options for intervention, for management or transfer. Elena elected SVE with SVE only slightly changed. Discussed next steps. Offer therapeutic rest, continuing as is, or attempting to augment labor with manual cervical dilation or activity to boost contraction pattern. Elena verbalized and understood and chose manual cervical dilation. I want to do this. I'm ready to be done. I do, however, remember saying that, yes, you can dilate my cervix and do what you must do to get this baby out. So that is what we did. We dilated my cervix in many different positions. Squat, all on fours, laying down in the shower to see if it will help. I was also told that if we break the rest of her sac, that it will boost contractions to get her out fast. That is what we thought. Yeah, we're talking about how you came into the world, how you were born, and how mommy had to go through very long labor. At 8 a.m., I was fully dilated, and this one was just making her way through. And at this time, there was no heart rate deceleration. Everything was going smooth. I continued to labor, but you know, I wasn't looking so hot. I was requested by the midwife, based off her notes, that I refrain from pushing during certain contractions. So if I had a contraction, push and then wait on the next contraction. This request was the most difficult request because trying to not push during a contraction was so difficult. Yes, but I couldn't help it. I had to push. And the reason they told me to push and then relax and then push is so the baby's heart rate can recover, because her heart rate was decelerating yet again. Another midwife came to aid us in my labor, and we were just going at it. They were sticking their fingers in my cervix to help me labor. By 12 o'clock, we were able to feel the baby's head so close to coming out. Let me demonstrate to you how my baby was positioned. So normally the baby should be positioned when it comes out. The baby's like this, and the baby tucks the chin in, push through the pelvic bones, and then it pops out. My baby was sideways, trying to come out, and her head was also crooked. So she was literally trying to come out like this. That is a very difficult position for the baby to come out because it's stuck. The baby is just truly stuck, and you can push and push and push in labor and it's just not gonna get out. But what my midwives did is they tried their best to actually shift the baby's head with every contraction. So they stuck their hand in there and tried to rotate the baby's head so the baby could come out. Trying to shift the baby just didn't work. At this point, it was already about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on January 9th. The baby's heart rate was decelerating. The baby's heart rate is at 89 beats per minute. You have to stop pushing. You're going to the hospital. From the hours of laboring, my face was swollen, my body was swollen, put on my diaper, let's go. So from our house to the hospital, it's a 15-minute drive. I couldn't push for 15 minutes throughout that car ride. And in New York City, there's a lot of potholes. And with every pothole we went over, it felt like I was closer and closer to me dying. My midwife was driving. My husband was in the front seat. The other midwife was with me in the back. Remember holding on to the headrest with I was just gripping it with my whole life. And I was holding my midwife's hand, and I was just squatting down in the car, and I was just holding my breath and just going through each of these contractions. It was pretty wild. Now, my baby's heart rate started to normalize. We arrived to the hospital, and my husband used to work at this hospital. So once we got there, we went through the ambulance bay, and they didn't want to let us in, but my husband knew the security guard, and the security guard just moved magic. They got me a wheelchair. I was rolled through the emergency room, transported to the labor unit, and they put me on a stretcher, and I kid you not, like 20 doctors and nurses surrounded me, checking how dilated I was, my heart rate, the baby's heart rate. My husband was doing paperwork with the midwife. All I heard was stat emergency C-section. And at that point, all I remember was being wheeled away, and I looked to my right and I saw my husband, and all I said was, "I love you." He couldn't come with me because they were gonna put me under general anesthesia. They were knocking me out pretty much. And I remember being wheeled into the operating room. I was asked a few questions, trying to medicate me and sedate me. And I just remember fighting him off, and like he put the mask on me and trying to put the mask on me because I was fighting it. All I just thought was like, wow, this is it. Like, I thought, man, wow, I hope this isn't the end, because it kind of feels like it. But then next thing I knew, I woke up and I looked to my left and I saw my husband, and he's smiling. He's like, "Hey, you're okay. You just had a C-section, this post-surgery, you're in the recovery room." And then he started asking me, like, "Can you move your hands? Like, I was lifting my hands. He's like, "Are you okay? Can you talk?" And at this point I couldn't talk because I was intubated, so my throat was in pain. So I was just like, and then I couldn't lift my legs either because obviously the anesthesia still hasn't worn off. And then he started asking me questions. He's like, "How do you feel? Are you angry?" And I just remember going, and I'm looking at him like, he's like, "Are you upset? Are you happy?" And then he starts crying, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm happy." Thinking about it, reflecting back, I think I was happy. Just labor was finally over. The baby was out. I was fine. The baby was fine. We're both healthy. It was just a crazy birth. And then he couldn't stay with me, and I also wasn't able to see the baby until I was fully recovered and off anesthesia. So it took about 2 days until they transferred me to like a room, and then I was able to see her. I felt so calm and peaceful, and I did a lot of work prior to giving birth. A lot of emotional work, working on past traumas, working on fears, worked through all that. I did all of that. Another thing that really helped me, I read David Goggins' book, Never Finished, and something about the words in his book really got me through my pregnancy and through my birth. And I just unlocked another level of pain. You know, sometimes I feel like, oh man, I didn't get that opportunity to hold my baby after birth and get that bonding experience. And I always felt sad about it, but after birth, I bonded with her every single day. So that one moment that I miss and I wish I had with her, I'm able to have that every day with her. So I thought I was gonna have a home birth and follow through with the home birth, and ended up having an emergency C-section, going under general anesthesia, because usually when someone has a C-section, they don't go under general anesthesia where they're knocked out. And to not being able to see my baby, and I didn't know this was gonna happen, but I'm so glad that I prepared for something like this emotionally. And it took me a while to make this video because I had to do a lot of reflecting. At first I was really happy, and I was just glad that she's here and that we're healthy and recovering. And then I got really angry. Why did this happen? How did this happen? Was it someone's fault? And then I thought, man, was I the stupid one? Should I have just gone straight to the hospital and scratched this whole home birth idea? Unforeseen circumstances occur to everybody, whether I was in the hospital, whether my C-section was planned, whether I did a home birth, whether my baby was born in the car. Things happen, and I am just grateful that she is here. So the first question is, what were my expectations of home birth? I watched so many beautiful YouTube videos about women delivering all their children at home, having a beautiful, gentle home birth, and there's so many benefits to having a home birth. Emotionally, psychologically, it's better both for mother and baby, that bonding experience and whatnot. I wanted my birth to be very intimate, very bonding. I wanted my husband there. I wanted him to be comfortable. I wanted my dog there. She was like my doggy doula. Having a midwife throughout my pregnancy was absolutely fantastic just because I loved the autonomy that I had. I was able to make my own decisions of how I wanted certain things, what I wanted, what I didn't want. Didn't feel forced or pushed or anything like that. So I really appreciated that. You know, I expected my home birth to kind of look like the birth of somebody off of YouTube, and mine was completely the opposite. But I loved every single moment throughout birthing, from the labor to being transported to having the C-section. Like, that is my story. That is what happened to me. I just learned so much, and I grew as a person, as a mother. My limits were pushed. My pain threshold was high. Pretty cool. What really happened during my home birth? My birth story kind of told you that, but how I was feeling, I was really calm and present the whole time. I really wanted to take every single moment in, from the pain to the not having pain to the pain to very bad pain. I just wanted to soak everything in and be aware of my body and understand it and feel and like just really work with my baby. And I felt ready. I honestly felt like I was going to war during labor, and I needed to carry the boats and the logs for myself, for my family, to get this baby out smoothly and quickly as I could. It wasn't quick. I don't know if it was smooth, but she came out. Feel like I should have better prepared myself. Feel like I should have spoken to more women who had births, whether it was home births or regular births, about how long labor was. How long was it for them? What did they expect? How did they feel? Just all of those things. Just so I have a better idea of what I was kind of going into. How did I feel about being in the hospital? I had an amazing experience. All of the nurses were amazing. All of the doctors were amazing. I don't accept blood transfusions, and the hospital was willing to work with me. The lactation consultants were amazing. They did everything in their power to help me learn to breastfeed, to make sure my baby was breastfed and had breast milk. They actually ordered breast milk to feed my baby while she was in the NICU. I thought that was amazing, especially since the early days I was recovering. I needed to build up my supply. I really truly believe it was because my husband used to work at this hospital and he built a great reputation. Majority of the nurses that he spoke to and worked with were there. I really appreciated seeing the love that the nurses had for my husband, and they reflected that back onto me because he took care of them during COVID and whatnot. So that was really nice to see. I think that added to the experience that made it more positive. And I never once felt like I was judged for having a home birth. In today's society, having a home birth is a little like, hey, you a little wacko. What would I have done differently? Okay, so just for birth in general, I think I would have asked about birth more often. I wanted to be more prepared, especially because it was my first birth. I had no idea what I was going to. What was a contraction? How does it feel like? How much worse does it get? How bad is it to be unmedicated? How does it feel with epidural? Like, I wanted the details, and I didn't ask enough women about the details, and that's what I wanted. I should have also reached out to other women who had home births. What were their experiences? Maybe reach out to other midwives. Tell me. I need to know. I want to know more. That's pretty much what I would have done. Do I regret having a home birth? No, I don't regret having a home birth. I felt like I made the best decision with the most information that I had. Unforeseen circumstances happen to everybody, and I'm just glad that I had a husband who helped me prepare for something like this. We played out a scenario sort of like this, and we understood how I should feel. And that really helped a lot. It helped tremendously. I don't think if we didn't open up my emotions and really think about it and dig deep, that I wouldn't be so chill about it, if that makes sense. Would I have another home birth? This is a tough little cookie. Yes, I would have another home birth, but under two circumstances. I have to do a lot more research on my provider, really interview him, really develop a relationship before I say yes, help me deliver my baby. Also, be ready financially to pay for the home birth, because most home births you have to pay out of pocket. What's one thing you learned about yourself throughout the experience? Wow, that I am so much more capable of handling pain and unforeseen circumstances than I thought I'd ever be. And everything I complained about like before, like if I had a headache, if I had some sort of pain, if I wasn't feeling good that day, like all that stuff is like out the window. It's like a joke to me now. An unmedicated birth is on a whole different level. And then having to be rushed to the hospital, even though your baby is literally right there. I can touch her skull. Emergency C-section, getting intubated, going through the recovery of something that I wasn't planning on having major surgery. That put me in a whole different like ballpark, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I learned that I am a very strong woman. What is one thing you learned about your partner? I like this one. I learned that my husband is a protector and he has a very kind and sensitive soul. Like when I woke up from the C-section, all he said is, I wish I could take your spot. I wish I could do the labor for you. I wish I could give birth for you. Everything that happened to you, I wish it happened to me and not you instead. So just seeing that side of him, and I always knew he was like that, you know, it kind of gave me a little giggly hee 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 hee. And it just reminded me of why I love my husband and why I fell in love with him and why I married him, and it's very sweet. What was the best moment you treasure with your baby? Was when I saw my baby for the first time in the NICU and I was able to hold her hand. But not only that, when she's in the NICU, like they're kind of just like looking straight up, right? Like there's not much to look at. But when I came over to her for the first time and I started speaking to her, all of a sudden I just saw her like head shift to the side and she was looking at me, and that is one moment that I will always treasure. What is something that nobody tells you about birth? I wish I knew what hard means after birth. Throughout my pregnancy, I asked parents, how's birth? What about after birth? How is it having a newborn? How is it having a baby? How is it having a kid? And everyone told me it's hard. And in my head, I'm like, what do you mean hard? We're very vague. You know, you lose sleep, you don't feel good, and you get a little depressed, and there's socialization isn't in the marriage, and then, okay, I was like, I want to know what hard means. I wish I asked people, what is your hard? What does it mean hard to you? Like postpartum for me was hard because I didn't expect it to feel like a long-term recovery. My recovery, and I'm still recovering, I'm not fully healed. It takes about a year to fully heal. I just started feeling like I'm back to normal and I'm like 15 weeks postpartum. But from week 1 to week 7 after birth, like it was so difficult because you're still bleeding. You gotta eat, you gotta breastfeed, you gotta take care of a human, you gotta worry, process these emotions. All these hormones are changing. You can't get up. You just had a C-section. You need help getting up. You can't put on your underwear. You can't put on your socks. All of these things were so difficult and hard. And don't forget the pain. I had to be on narcotics because the pain was so hard to deal with. It was hard. And you really do not feel like yourself. Now I'm slowly starting to feel like normal Elena pre-pregnancy. Like I'm back to being active, I'm running, but now I have like this little kangaroo that's attached to me in my pouch. Learning how to care for this child, make sure this child doesn't die, make sure you don't die, make sure you're taken care of, make sure you're fed, make sure the baby's fed. Are you producing enough breast milk? If not, what kind of formula is good for them? Are they gassy? Are they not? All of these things. It's like a complete 360 on your life. I am a walking, living proof. This hard that I'm talking about starts to diminish. It's just so much. And hard is different in different stages. And for me, it's been an interesting ride. But here we are. We're alive. We are thriving. Baby's gonna be 4 months old. Unforeseen circumstances happen to every single one of us. And it is your responsibility to prepare for it, even if it doesn't happen. You really dig deep inside you. Ask yourself questions. Why are you scared? Why do you feel this way? Why does that person tick you off? Dig deep into your past traumas. Dig deep into the things that give you anxiety, even though it really, really hurts, but it will feel so much better. And it will help you move forward when you give birth, when you have this new human being you have to take care of. I really, truly believe that this birth has completely changed who I am in the most amazing way. And I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful. Even though it's not the home birth that I absolutely dreamed for, it was a crazy birth. A home birth turned emergency C-section, and it's my birth. It's my story, and I am embracing it. I hope something helps. If you have any questions, anything at all, please ask it. Leave it in the comments down below. I would love to help you, whether it's about pregnancy, birth, going to the hospital, C-section recovery, postpartum, breastfeeding, anything. I will try to help you based off my experience. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe. More videos are coming on the way. I'll see you guys in the next one.